This is Gary Turner, but he's better known as the Elastic Man. He has a medical condition that causes his skin to be so stretchy that he can stretch the skin from his neck over his mouth.
Signs that you or your friends are serial killers. Number 1, antisocial behavior. Number 2, setting things on fire. It doesn't have to be houses. Number 3, torturing animals. Number 4, having a troubled family history and substance abuse. Number 5, they're pretty smart but cannot keep a job. Do you know anyone that could be a serial killer?
Here's some of the most random fun facts you will ever hear in your life. Armadillo shells are actually bulletproof. One time a man was hospitalized when he shot at an armadillo and the bullet ricocheted off the shell and hit him instead. There's only one letter in the entire alphabet that isn't in any US state name, and that letter is Q. There's not a single state with the letter Q in its name.
Really?
71% of the earth is covered in water, and humans can only use 0.007% of that water. 2.5% of the total water is fresh water, and only 1% of that is actually accessible. The bumblebee bat is the smallest mammal in the entire world. These things can rest on your fingertips and you might not even know because they weigh 0.05 to 0.07 ounces. Ostriches are the world's largest and heaviest living bird. That's why they can't fly, but they are built for running. And they can reach speeds of up to 43 miles per hour, and they can pretty easily coast at 30 miles per hour. The longest English word is 189,819,000 letters long. It's a protein and its nickname is titin, and it would take around 3.5 hours to say the word out loud.
The hell?
People who gained real-life superpowers after an accident. Jason Padgett was a party animal who hated school and got terrible grades. But one day, 2 men savagely robbed and attacked Jason outside of a karaoke bar, leaving him with a severe concussion. The concussion caused him to become a mathematical genius and made him learn fractal geometry, which he had never been taught before. When Derek Amato was 39 years old, he hit his head after diving into a swimming pool and was diagnosed with a concussion and 35% hearing loss. After that, Derek began to see black and white keys in his head, and out of nowhere, he began to play the piano like an expert. Ben McMahon was in a car accident in 2015 and fell into a coma for a week. When he woke up, he could speak perfect Chinese even though he had only learned the basics as a child. Tony Cicerio was struck by lightning after making a call in a phone booth. Within a couple days, he was addicted to music, which he wasn't before. After trying the piano, he became a musical artist, composing his own music.
This mother hits the...
Man, what is up, man? These freak accidents, bro. Like, it really sounded like something out of a comic book, man. You know, something traumatic happens to them. They wake up with new abilities or powers or something like that. Can't believe those stories, man. Are real. We'll have to check them out, see if we can find any more.
Sticky notes in her daughter's sock to be saved from captivity. This 28-year-old mother and 2 kids, 7-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son, Mason Dominguez, were held captive by a man named Brandon Tusland. This all started in January 2021 when the father of the 2 kids, Eli Dominguez, passed away from pneumonia. The mother was happily married to Eli, but since his death, she began to struggle financially. That's when Eli's former friend, Brandon, offered to support her and her 2 kids. In March 2021, the mother and 2 kids moved into Brandon's home, and that's when he became controlling and abusive. He alienated her from her family, made her quit her job, and confiscated her phone. He put locks on the bedroom doorknobs, installed motion sensors, and duct taped her to the bed. She was also handcuffed when she rode in the car with him. But one day, the mother spotted a sticky notepad and a pen in his car, and that's when she began a weeks-long plan to seek help. The mother found the perfect chance to put a sticky note in her daughter's sock, and on February 22nd at 8:40 a.m., the 7-year-old girl went to school and gave the sticky note to her teacher. The note said that her mother was being held against her will and she needed help right away. School officials notified authorities and Brandon was arrested right away. But it doesn't end there. This is when things get super disturbing. Brandon kept her kids away from her most of the time, and especially when she was locked up. And she actually had not seen her 4-year-old son, Mason Dominguez, since December 11th. and she suspected he was dead. When the mother lost full contact with her son, she knew she had to find a way out to save her and her daughter. When police searched his house, they found the remains of 4-year-old Mason Dominguez in his freezer in his garage.
Just a dark Gacy kid, man. She was smart.
Tastiophobia. Thalassophobia.
Level 1. It's good. I'm still good right now. It's kind of scary. Could you imagine being out there? Yeah, I can't do that. Damn.
These toy designers messed up big time. I'm pretty sure there was a better spot to put this straw on Buzz Lightyear. Come on. And I've never seen a duck with 4 legs before. Have you? I poop glitter. But why is this even a toy? And why this designer made Harry Potter blue? I'll never understand. And this looks like a normal cute horse, right? Well, it actually has a Barbie head as the tail. I am a sweet baby. Let's have fun together. Yeah, you don't look too sweet. And
What
I think
the
there's
hell?
something up with this Woody doll. And I'm not sure what's going on with this baby's eye.
What the hell was wrong with those toy designers, man? They weren't thinking.
Here are some of the rarest human mutations that actually exist. Firstly, every 1 in 1,000 people have a perfect 10 face, meaning that all of their features fit perfectly within these lines. Now, every 1 in 107 people experience something called mirror touch. It's where you feel the sensation of touch in the same or opposite body part when you see somebody else being touched. Now, 4% of people have something known as sweaty palm syndrome. I'm sure you can guess what that is. It's where your palms sweat when you're not even being active. And the rarest mutation is werewolf syndrome. This is where you have excessive hair growth all over your body. And only 50 people worldwide have this.
This is Tragedy by the Sea.
Werewolf syndrome. Interesting.
Photos of all time. Okay, so first glance at this photo, you just think it's a couple arguing at the beach, right? But believe it or not, this photo might have the most unsettling and disturbing backstory ever. On the morning of April 2nd, 1954, Los Angeles Times photographer named John Gaunt, who was pictured in the middle of this photo, was relaxing on his front yard of his beachfront house when he heard a neighbor shout, "Something's happening on the beach." He then instinctively grabbed his camera and rushed over to see the horrified couple clutching each other on the beach. On the shore stood a young couple named Mr. and Mrs. McDonald, and their body language made John's stomach turn. He realized that someone must be lost, and he then took a photograph from 200 yards away. Only then did he learn that just moments before, the couple's 19-month-old son Michael, who had been playing in the yard, had wandered down to the beach and crawled into the violent waters while they weren't looking. Despite the back and forth efforts by the parents, there was nothing they can do but just wait. Unfortunately, later that day, the child's dead body was washed up about a mile away on the beach. And this photo, titled "Tragedy by the Sea," appeared on the front page of the Times the very next day. John Gaunt then won the 1955 Pulitzer Prize Award, calling the photo poignant and profoundly moving. But he also received heavy criticism for capitalizing on the family's tragedy for his photo opportunity. But now take a look at this photo, knowing everything you do, and tell me it's not one of the saddest and most disturbing photos ever.
The darkest
It is.
conspiracy theories. The Teletubbies theory. The theory says that the show is inspired by historic events that happened in a Bulgarian mental facility. Each Teletubby is inspired by a kid that was experimented on. Lola was based on a child who had facial disfigurement and had to smile all the time. Tinky Winky was based on a deaf child who was tied to a fence outside and suffered frostbite. Gypsy was inspired by a child who was constantly sick and ended up lying in his own puke. And Poe was based on a child who fell into fire, which is recognizable by his color as red.
Sounds like an edit.
We all did as kids. Who remembers pouring glue all over their hand and peeling it it off. How satisfying was that?
I
And we
remember that.
definitely have all gotten our fingers stuck in one of these at least one time. Who
True.
remembers feeling like the coolest kid with a pencil this small? And we all ran our fingers along these grooves at school. Admit it, we all stabbed our eraser with our pencil like this. And we definitely all unraveled the design of these pencils. And we all dove to the bottom of the pool to pick up these rings. Who remembers using these blocks in school? And we definitely all tried pushing down all of the colors at one time.
Did any of you guys do that, Seekers, in school?
AI
I
art is
remember
not
that.
something that's terribly new, but have you heard about the woman that is haunting AI pictures? This is the face, and nobody can explain why she keeps showing up in AI images. If you look at her, she's not really general. I mean, there are specific characteristics here that are consistent. Yet nobody knows which prompts are generating this woman. Nobody knows why her face continues to appear in different models. So this has opened up one of my favorite questions about the idea that AI pictures can be haunted. And don't forget, if things like this are of interest to you, make sure to go check out the podcast.
War generals really to study
Wow.
how Coyote managed to finesse its two biggest enemies, and all they had to do was wait and play the long game. So once upon a time, humanity saw this canyon puppy and decided it was on site ever since. America started murking coyotes like they were made out of oil. Mark Twain hated it so much, he wrote a 3-page MLA format essay on why coyotes deserve nothing. If you thought Kendrick hated Drake, that is nothing on the abhorrence this man had for a travel-sized wolf. So much that it literally inspired a pain magnet of a Looney Tune. Now here's the first problem of beefing with coyotes. Coyotes are basically canine cockroaches. The harder you try to murk them, the harder they work to birth them. Apparently they even have this roll call where a female will call out and all the coyotes in an area will answer. And if she doesn't hear a lot of yotes back, it'll actually trigger her body to make more pups. Now op number 2, wolves don't mess with coyotes at all. Like to a homicidal level. To the point where wolves will hard bully coyotes in the same area. Now here's where the get back happened. While we were out here spam killing coyotes, we were also at war with wolves. Except getting generationally stepped on by wolves made coyotes that much more adaptable. So while the big bad wolf was getting smoked, coyotes were out here stepping extinction. And when wolves got packed up in the US for coyotes, it was free real estate. So not only did we accidentally become coyote allies, the wolf dating pool got so low, eventually they started doing the unspeakable with the ops to survive, leading to the coy wolf. It's exactly what it sounds like. Remember, wolves hate coyotes more than anything. So just like that, coyotes managed to outcompete their biggest enemy and also colonize their bloodline. And with coyotes found in every state that isn't Hawaii, they basically humbled humanity too. And that's why I rock with them. They're alive out of spite, and I respect that.
Man. A birds with you, coyote and wolf, both ops joining together, man. All because of us. Crazy story in Animal Kingdom history.
Unexpected emergency alert systems in different countries. Firstly, if you don't know, countries have different emergency alert systems. The one I'm used to is America's that sounds like this.
Yup.
But on the other hand, we have the country of Barbados, which honestly sounds like club music. Next is Japan, which to me isn't that scary, it just sounds like a notification. Now, one that I would genuinely be terrified by is Ireland's. Just imagine waking up to this. Finally, I'm kind of glad that America's emergency alarm isn't too scary because Denmark is on another level.
Nightmarish facts about your body that you probably shouldn't think about. Due to the brain's lack of pain receptors, brain surgery is often performed while the patient is awake and talking. And in some cases of brain surgery, the surgeon will pull your face forward like a banana. Men's nipples can be stimulated enough to produce milk. Once you turn 30 years old, you can expect to lose half an inch every 10 years. When you developed in the womb, your anus was formed before anything else. So at one point, you were nothing but an asshole. The acid in your body is strong enough to dissolve razor blades, which is why your stomach is in a constant battle to not digest itself. When you get a sunburn, your cells are dying to avoid becoming cancerous. A sneeze can blow out of your nose at over 100 miles an hour. So next time, be careful, because it's actually possible to break a rib simply by sneezing. If you've ever been on a roller coaster and feel like your heartbeat is in your mouth, it isn't your imagination. Your organs are actually moving around inside your body.
You guys know some freaking creepy facts? I think the one that got to me is that we have enough stomach acid we can burn, like I said, the razor blade, bro. And they were literally born in that freaking butthole, bro. I never knew that was the first thing that formed, man. So we was all, I guess, an asshole one time in our life. Edit. Like I said, man, if you guys see any edits, man, call them out as well, bro. We all need to help each other, man, this community.
Adult jokes in kids' cartoons you probably didn't notice.
Hey, Judy! Want a pie? Want a real bug? Yeah! Oh, lady, come like lava! Yeah!
So, being a ladybug automatically makes me a girl. Is that it, flyboy? Huh?
Right! She's a god!
Knowledge you wish you didn't know, Gandhi was racist and sexist. He kept a bunch of underage girls with him all the time. He would bathe with them, get full-body massages from them, and sleep naked with them in order to test himself. He also thought women were responsible for their own sexual assaults, and was totally cool with fathers killing their own daughters after they had been sexually assaulted for family honor.
Gandhi Doc Origins confirmed.
Okay, this is getting creepy. Without finding out when doomsday fish washed up dead in San Diego just 2 days before California was rattled by that 4.6 magnitude earthquake. I mean, come on. Now for anyone that doesn't know, we've spoken about this before, but according to Japanese mythology, the oarfish, which is very rarely seen by humans, because they swim at depths of roughly 200 to 1,000 meters, well, is said to intentionally rise to the surface and beach themselves ahead of an impending earthquake, hence the name. And I made a video earlier this year when one was spotted before the Japan earthquake, and now again, for this one. So, now remember, there is no scientific evidence that has proven a correlation between them washing up and earthquakes. So as of right now, all we can say is just it's a freaky, freaky coincidence.
You guys believe that, man? It's 2 out of 2, though. He did one early this year in the fish and that freaking earthquake happened, and another one happened as well. So he's 2 for 2 confirmed, man. It's starting to not seem like a coincidence anymore, Seekers.
Attractions in the World Part 2. Today we're going to be talking about the 17th door. This attraction is so much different than the rest because actors are allowed to touch you. There's also a slight possibility that you'll get your hair cut here, which makes things like 100 times worse. Put you through various levels and rooms that just kind of keep getting worse. The room that you're seeing here actually turns and spins while you're in it. It's really trippy, especially if you don't know it's coming. You can watch a walkthrough of this place online. A lot of commenters were saying that this doesn't do the place justice. Basically, they were holding back a little for the people recording, supposedly. Oh yeah, and here's their lovely little barber shop. I wouldn't go here, but let me know if you would.
I'm never going to any of those freaking haunted houses, bro. They're too extreme for my
Beetlejuice
taste.
is not going to try to marry Jenna Ortega's character in the sequel. I feel like the trailers make it abundantly clear that he's trying to get back with Lydia again. First thing he does when he sees her is he grabs her and he says, "I'm gonna make you so happy." He even has a picture of Lydia on his desk, and then he says, "Now's my chance." The trailer kind of implies that Lydia's husband dies at the beginning of the movie, so maybe the movie is about Beetlejuice trying to be a father to Jenna Ortega's character. He puts down the newspaper and it says obituary, so he probably found out someone died and he thought, now is my time. Let me have another chance with Lydia. You can even see in the trailer that he's at the altar with Lydia. You can also see a wedding cake in the chapel, and you see that this is Lydia with the red dress from the first movie. Like, the first wedding outfit is on the wedding cake. And we even see her in a chapel in the red dress. Because I know that Jenna Ortega is wearing a white dress here, but if she was marrying Beetlejuice, it would be this white dress. Also, let's be honest, like, it's 2024. I think they realized that they kind of made him look like a creep in the old movie and that society doesn't like that anymore, or they're not okay with that. And they acknowledge that in the musical. There's a whole song about how Lydia's marrying a creepy old guy and she's an underage bride. Also, this is a fan-made photo. But I know they added this character, I think her name's Dolores, that's gonna be Beetlejuice's wife. I can't wait for this movie though. Let me know your thoughts and follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more. It really helps when you interact.
I never watched the first Beetlejuice, guys, so tell me down below, man. Should I check that out? They sound like a creep trying to marry an underage girl. I don't think they're doing that in the second Beetlejuice.
What did Will Smith really mean to tell us?
Yo, we out here on vacation in the Bahamas. Another beautiful day. Check it out. Check it out. Boom. I want to talk to y'all for a minute about the power of perception. See, there's a lot that goes in to being a hot social media content provider. For instance, y'all think I got time to go on vacation? No. I got social to do. Come on, man, this is blue screen. In fact, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I haven't looked like this good in years. I've been totally computer generated since like the 90s. You know what? This ain't even real blue screen. It's 2019, y'all. Nothing's real.
Tell me,
The whole message is just freaking computer generated, man. That's really scary. It shows you how far technology has come, and you can literally just make anything, bro, on the internet. Location, your face, whole bodies. Oh, that's trippy.
do you believe was Disney trying to tell us something? Crazy, right? Some things are just an optical illusion, right? Well, is this an optical illusion? Look at that and tell me you don't know what that is. Go ahead and tell me that confidently and mean it. Because you know darn well what that is. You can see it. No, that's not a carving. That's a petrified animal from the days of old.
Do you see this?
Yes.
Do you see this?
Yep.
It's freaking nature! And it's freaking awesome!
Yes, it is. And I don't think science can properly explain how these animals were petrified so quickly to where they were able to preserve their form through all these years. And you know, that really got me thinking. There's plenty of statues on this earth that are thousands of years old. Now, what if they were petrified beings? Now, I know, it's just a thought. And yeah, I can't wait for the Mount Rushmore jokes. And you can joke all you want, but I promise you truth is stranger than fiction.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. There are thousands of old diseases frozen in the glaciers of the world, and global warming will eventually release them all. If a person dies in their costume at Disney, like Mickey Mouse, they have to be sat down on a bench so it looks like they're resting. Climate change is making spiders bigger. Some female spiders allow their young to eat them alive. Tooth in the eye surgery is when surgeons put a tooth in a blind person's eye to restore their sight. It was pioneered in the 1960s, and it actually works, and it's still being done today. The chances of a successful CPR outside of a hospital is only 7%. Cell phones are 10 times dirtier than a toilet seat. When you suddenly wake up during the night without any reason, there was someone or something staring at you. Yeah, there's a lot more, like for part 12.
Need to clean our phones, bro.
Even
ASAP.
the actor that plays Art the Clown vomited from how gross Terrifier 3 is about to be. In fact, there were a lot of really big production companies that wanted to be involved in making Terrifier 3. The creator ended up turning it down because he didn't want to have less gore and tone down certain scenes. To stick it to these companies, he said, we're gonna make it even worse. He even said that they're gonna make the bedroom scene from the last movie look like a little kid thing. Like, that is how intense this movie is going to be. That is the level that we're about to be on. It's supposedly an unwritten rule that you're not supposed to do anything to kids. Like when bad things happened to Georgie and it was like such a game changer, and so many people were like really upset that they would kid in a film. And I don't know about you, but I'm thinking of so many movies where they don't follow that rule. But they are not about to hold back. I don't understand how they can do like the bedroom scene and then be able to put that in the movie theater. The scene took 3 years to make, and it was so intense that people were either vomiting or walking out of the theater. But it was insane, and it was so like an awakening. Terrifier the franchise is just known for upsetting the mainstream and pushing boundaries in horror, which I love. But one thing is certain, I absolutely cannot wait for this film.
People who are 1 in a million are two. This is Gary Turner, but he's better known as the Elastic Man. He has a medical condition that causes his skin to be so stretchy that he can stretch the skin from his neck over his mouth. Next is Nanya Su, who's a boy with perfect night vision. His parents both have brown eyes, but he has blue eyes that glow when a light is shined. He claims that it's hard to see during the day, but while everyone sees this at night, this is what he sees. This is Paul Carrison, the real-life Papa Smurf. To fix his skin condition, he would drink silver and rub it on his skin every day, causing him to turn irreversibly blue. Finally, this man came into the hospital with severe chest pain, and doctors were shocked when they discovered he had 2 hearts, and he had suffered a double heart attack.
This truck driver took the life of 5 people because he was distracted on TikTok. The morning of January 12, 2023, 36-year-old Danny Tyner was driving on Interstate 10 in Arizona when he drove his tractor trailer in to stop the traffic. This scene is so difficult to look at, but basically his truck sandwiched 2 other cars with another big truck at the front. These are the 5 victims that lost their lives on that day, and when Danny was asked what happened, he said that he looked down for a couple of seconds because he got a notification on his work tablet, and when he looked back up, there was not enough time to brake. But that wasn't true. When his phone was analyzed, it showed that he was actively using TikTok when the crash happened. Now, what I found disturbing was that during his interaction with police, he didn't seem too fazed. He was eventually charged with manslaughter and was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison for each count of negligent homicide, which totaled to 22.5 years.
This is the tragedy.
Man, I'm telling you guys, when you out driving, man, just do not be informed, man. Like I said, social media is a distraction, man. That's basically what it was made for. So why would you even attempt to even like look at it while you're driving, bro? That's just doesn't make sense to me. Look at the result of what happened, man. Multiple senses, man, because you just wanted to scroll on TikTok, man. TikTok cannot be, well, we know it's that addicting, man, where you just want to keep scrolling and scrolling, but you drive and you don't have that luxury.
Tragic story of the Boy Scout who made his entire neighborhood radioactive. Nicknamed the Nuclear Boy Scout, David Hahn was a teenager from Michigan who was obsessed with nuclear radiation. When he was only 15, David attempted to build a nuclear reactor in his backyard shed, using radioactive material from household items including vintage clocks, smoke detectors, and gun sights. Within 2 years, David had built a functioning reactor which gave off enough radiation to be detected throughout his entire neighborhood.
Damn.
David was soon caught by police when they found hazardous materials in his car during a routine stop and thought he was building an atomic bomb. When David's shed was raided by the EPA, they determined that his project had created dangerous levels of radiation, leading them to dismantle the building and classify it as hazardous waste. This mugshot from 2006 shows David covered in sores as a result of his extensive exposure to radiation. This, combined with continuous legal and mental health issues, led to David's early passing at the age of 39 from an accidental overdose.
Why did it become like
Genetics
Hatman or something?
Superpowers, Part 2. The super coffee drinker, BDNF. Carriers of this gene remain completely unaffected to the effects of caffeine from coffee, and can often easily get a night's sleep after drinking a cup. The perfect memory gene, HSAM. If you are lucky enough to be born with this gene, you will have almost a perfect memory. However, it's extremely rare with only 25 confirmed cases. The super sprinter gene, ACTN3. People with these genes are able to run extra fast, as these genetics give your muscles a higher flexing rate, which gives them more explosive power.
Speed
the
got
alcohol
that.
immunity gene, ALDH2. Having this super rare gene will mean you will never be able to experience being drunk with your friends, and you might have a lot of explaining to do, as it gives you total immunity from the effects of being drunk.
Imagine if everybody had that, the world would be a safer place, man. Everybody's immune to alcohol. Whew. And the speed definitely got the freaking sprinter gene, bro. I know what I'm talking about. He's too fast. That's the only explanation.
This is how rare your body is compared to the rest of the world. Only 10% of people have something called Darwin's tubercle. It's this little bump on the outside of your ear. And it's said that people who have this are better at sensing voice tonality. 10% of people also have what's called Morton's toe. This is where your big toe is shorter than the toe next to it. Only 26% of people have a narrator inside their head. Most people don't hear a voice when they think. What's even more rare is only 5% of people have their tongues tied to their mouth. I thought everyone had this. Everyone flares their nostrils subconsciously, but only 30% of people can do it on command. Less than 1% of people have unbreakable bones, making you basically superhuman. Only about 35% of people can gleek, and only 1% can do it on command. And gleeking is when you squirt saliva from underneath your tongue.
Any secrets can you guys gleek, bro? I've seen that before. I've always wanted to know what that was, man. I finally got an answer. It's called gleeking, bro. It shoots lava through your tongue. That's a very, I guess, rare skill set. You got any gleekers, man, in the comments? Oh, that's insane, bro.
This incident has made people on the internet so upset because this woman went up to a teen and pulled down her skirt because she thought it was too short. Even if you think this skirt is too short, I think we can all agree that you cannot go up to a child and touch them. The teen said that this woman approached her from behind and basically put her hand in her area. This woman, who's a 49-year-old Ida Lorenzo, said to the girl and her friends, "I happen to work for the state, and if I have to see your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS."
I happen to work for the state, and if I have to watch your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS.
Now, let's be real for a second. If this was a man who did this to a young girl, police would be called immediately and there would be no excuses. They were waiting at a restaurant to be seated and she basically felt like it was inappropriate for this young girl to be dressed like this in front of everyone. Which, if you feel that way, then you can leave. You should never be putting your hands on anyone. She was eventually charged with sexual battery, which I'm glad, because you can't be putting your hands on anyone, especially kids.
People who are 1 in a million.
Explained it
This girl's name
perfectly.
is Zhang Rufeng, and she is over 100 years old. But a few years ago, something strange happened. She started growing a horn on her head. At first, it started off small, but now it's grown up to 6 centimeters in length. But the craziest part is, she's actually starting to grow a second horn on the other side. And doctors have offered to remove it from her head, but she refuses. Before I show you the craziest one, I just found a way you can find your celebrity lookalike, and apparently I look like Mr. Beast. If you want to know who your celebrity lookalike is, just press this link in the comments. Next up is Nang Yasoi, and he has perfect night vision. And the strange part about this is both his parents have brown eyes, but he has blue eyes. When everyone else sees darkness, he sees perfectly in the middle of the night.
The rarest things found on Earth. This is a red diamond, and it is one of the rarest material known to man. Because of that, they are way more expensive than normal diamonds. This tiny one is worth around $25 million.
Damn.
And this is a corpse flower. It's basically a giant flower that smells like rotting flesh, and it can only be found in remote areas in Indonesia. Imagine having one of these in your garden. And this small and beautiful sea creature is a blue dragon. It's only a few inches big, but it eats deadly jellyfish every day for food.
The more you know. I want that freaking red diamond.
A Russian
You gotta
scientist
find
injected
it.
himself with this ancient bacteria to see what would happen. Dr. Anatoly Brushkov discovered bacteria deep within the permafrost of Siberia that was 3.5 million years old, and somehow it was still alive. It was named Bacillus F, and after doing some experiments on it, he realized the bacteria not only seemed to be immune to aging, but also appeared to have a life-extending effect on almost every organism it touched. He tested the strain on female mice, who were able to continue reproducing into old age, much older than the average mice could, and when he exposed it to crops, they grew faster and were more frost resistant. The town of Yakut, Siberia, close to where this bacteria was found, also happens to be one of the coldest human settlements on Earth, with their population reporting longer lifespans than average humans, perhaps due to Bacillus F leaking into their water supply. Dr. Brushkov was so convinced he said "F it" and injected himself with the ancient bacterium to test it out firsthand. 2 years later, he reported dramatic improvements to his general health, claiming to need less sleep, working longer hours, and just having more energy in his day-to-day life. He also allegedly hasn't gotten sick since he injected himself with it, with him and his colleagues starting to call it the elixir of life. Dr. Brushkov did this in 2013 and claims to be in the best health of his life today. And I'm sure Big Pharma loves the idea of a miracle life potion that would potentially lose them billions of dollars a year in revenue, so we definitely should not question any articles that debunk this find. To be fair, these effects aren't exactly 100% confirmed and could very well be a placebo effect, but that sure didn't stop others from hopping on the Bacillus F bandwagon. German actress Manouche began self-medicating the bacteria and reported being able to go for longer runs, feeling less cold in the winter, and her skin just feeling softer and younger. Brushkov and his team insist the effects of Bacillus F are clear and significant, although they admit they're not yet sure why it has the effect it does. But if they can manage to isolate the gene responsible for the positive benefits of the bacteria, they may have just discovered the ultimate elixir of life. As long as there isn't, you know, a whole-ass industry with infinite money that tries to stop it.
The elixir of life. I gotta believe that, man. Like I said, it could be a placebo effect, but I mean, if you can inject yourself with like 1 million years old bacteria, you have to be pretty sure to do that. I'm definitely going to have to check that out. Go down that rabbit hole.
Weirdest kids' toys ever, Part 51. Mr. Bucket, released in 1990, discontinued twice and brought back. But what was the problem? Well, the shape of the mouth didn't help. But the only thing they actually changed were the words in the jingle. A certain part they decided to cut out.
I'm Mr. Bucket. I'm Mr. Bucket. Toss your balls in my top. I'm Mr. Bucket. Out of my mouth,
Extinct animals scientists are close to reviving. Firstly, the woolly mammoth. It was believed to have gone extinct 25,000 years ago, but scientists discovered hundreds that just died recently. So they're planning to put its DNA inside African elephants, and they expect to bring them back in the next 5 years. Next, dodo birds were hunted to extinction 400 years ago, but a preserved head was recently discovered. By mixing that DNA with a maned pigeon, dodo birds should be coming back in 15 years. Finally, expect to see saber-toothed tigers outside soon, because scientists discovered DNA preserved in tar pits, and they plan to combine it with African lions. So this 10-inch tooth beast should be coming back in 10 years.
That's throwing off the environment, man. They shouldn't be doing that.
Never slice tomatoes this way. So when this guy noticed that his boss was slicing tomatoes one by one, wasting a lot of time, he decided to show him a trick that everyone should know. He took a plate, put a few tomatoes on it, covered them with another plate, and in one move, he sliced more tomatoes than his boss in an hour.
You ever seen a
That's
Mickey
insane,
Mouse
man.
gas mask? These were made to calm terrified children. About a month after Pearl Harbor, Walt Disney was in Washington, D.C. to design and discuss Mickey Mouse gas masks for children. 1,000 of these were produced and given away to key members of Congress to help support the project. At the time, President Roosevelt even received one. Walt Disney also came up with drawing designs for Pluto and Three Little Pigs gas masks, although these ones never reached production. They attempted to keep the fun element in something as grim as gas raids. During these raids, children would be persuaded to regard the whole thing as a game.
That's crazy, man. A freaking Mickey Mouse gas mask? Makes you wonder, man, what other freaking, I guess, companies and stuff made things in that time. But like I said, there was only 1,000 of them, so obviously it was a limited number. That was just a dark time, man, in history. Kids had to think it was a game.
Curtain number 1
That's an edit.
You don't remember what she looks like.
You call them out.
Here are the craziest things to ever happen at Walmart. So one day, an 18-year-old was craving milk. So he decided to steal not one, not two, but 26 gallons of milk from Walmart. Oh, and he did this dressed as a cow. And if that doesn't sound weird enough to you, you'd be surprised to learn that even though he made himself stand out in the cow costume, he managed to not get caught on the spot. Next, on Black Friday in 2013, a customer and his son were freaking out in Walmart because they thought that his ex-wife was possessed by a demon. And so they locked her in their car and set up an exorcism in the parking lot by throwing sacred oil at her, which might have been the reason why they ended up divorcing. Also, back in 2013, a 16-year-old was going into labor, and she gave birth in a Cannon City Walmart bathroom. Now, there was panic for a moment because the baby wasn't breathing, but luckily, one of the store's employees were CPR certified and they revived the baby. I guess Walmart really can help you live better. And finally, in 2011, at a Walmart in South Carolina, customers witnessed a man named Avery Blandon end the life of his wife, Lilia Blandon, while she was working inside the store's bank. Avery stabbed her multiple times, and she sadly passed away on the way to the hospital. He then tried to escape the scene, but he crashed his SUV and was caught by police. But what's weird is that the store stayed open during the investigation. only in Walmart.
Did you guys see this
They do
video
not
of these
care,
two planes
man.
that almost crashed into each other in midair? It was all caught by this police officer's dash cam. This all happened last month in Syracuse, New York, when a Delta airplane was cleared to take off, while at the same time an American airline airplane was cleared to land in the same runway. So the Delta airplane was on its way to LaGuardia Airport while the American airline plane was arriving from Washington Reagan Airport. What's crazy is that these two planes were only 725 feet away from each other in the air, but from the ground's point of view, they looked so much closer. At one point, the two planes were side by side, and that should not be happening for obvious reasons, which is why the job of an air traffic controller is so important. This error was completely on the air traffic controller, who shouldn't have cleared both airplanes at the same time. It's still unclear why and how this happened, but they're still investigating. Thankfully, both planes did not collide, and all 159 passengers are safe.
It's official.
That's insane to think about, man. Like, they were literally like that close. Like, there's like a hair off if something happened, man. Like she said, it was the air trafficker's job. That they need to, whoever's there that day, they have to get their freaking job reviewed or something like that, because they obviously was not paying attention. Flights, man, one of the most scariest things, man, that can happen. Fun fact, I've never been on an airplane before yet. I've never flown yet, so that just raises my anxiety.
Aliens exist. These are the remains of non-human creatures. They were presented to a hearing in Mexico's Congress, which is investigating unidentified anomalous phenomena. The hearing was told that the specimens were found in Peru in 2017 and apparently are 700 and 1800 years old. People online were quick to compare the likeness to that of E.T. from the movie. One user wrote, "No way, they can't be that small. Those are mutated cats." But looking at a picture that was released of their skull, this is no cat, which is eerily similar to a skull they found in 2021. What's worse is experts testified under oath that one of them is seen to have eggs inside it, and both specimens were said to have implants made of very rare metals. And even though the aliens are pretty small, you can tell that this is clearly something different. I ain't gonna lie, this guy looks like he doesn't want to go to work tomorrow. Let's take one last look. Do you believe in aliens?
Morbid facts.
Do you?
Part 402. George Lopez has a genetic condition that caused his kidneys to slowly deteriorate. So when he needed a new kidney in 2005, his wife Ann gave him one of her own. A couple years later, George reportedly cheated on his wife, then divorced her in 2010, all while wearing her kidney. The first scientist to observe penguins engaging in gay intercourse, grape, and necrophilia was so disturbed that he tried to obscure his findings to prevent people from knowing the truth about penguins. In 1995, a substitute school bus driver in Illinois stopped at a red light with the back part of the bus still on some train tracks. The children were screaming for her to move the bus forward as a train approached, but she was confused about what they meant. The train struck the bus at 60 miles per hour and 7 children were killed. In 2018, Gloria Williams pleaded guilty to posing as a nurse to abduct Kamaya Mobley from her mother's arms in the maternity ward. She was sentenced to 18 years in prison, the same length of time Kamaya was separated from her birth family.
2011, 4-year-old Gabby Mann was living in Seattle, Washington with her family. One day, she dropped a chicken nugget onto the ground, and before she could pick it up, a neighborhood crow swooped down and took the free lunch. And because Gabby was a messy eater, she continued to drop food everywhere she went, and so she continued to inadvertently feed these crows. She grew to really enjoy the attention, and so she started feeding them huge portions of her lunch. When Gabby's mother discovered where most of her daughter's food was going, she wasn't upset, she was just worried her daughter wasn't getting enough to eat. They would go out and buy some food just for the crows. She and her mom began feeding the crows every day. Gabby went outside one morning to refill the peanut tray when she noticed there was a small earring. Over the following few weeks, when more and more little trinkets started showing up, Gabby's mom installed a camera. She was amazed to see the crows would come in and they would eat their food, and then they would leave behind these shiny little trinkets. But the crows' most astonishing gift came the following year. Gabby's mother was an avid photographer, and one day she was out by herself photographing a bald eagle. She managed to drop a lens cover to one of her cameras. That night, when she got back to her house, she couldn't believe what was sitting there. She ran back inside and pulled up the footage from the bird camera, and there it was, a crow coming into the yard with the lens cap in its mouth. This behavior is very significant because it means the relationship between the crows and Gabby and her mom was not a transactional one. Today, Gabby and her mother still feed the crows every single day, and the crows still love Gabby and her mother.
Okay,
It's like good karma coming back to
a
you.
pharmaceutical company that's trialing a new groundbreaking age reversal pill had such good results that the local news wanted to run a story on them. But before they even could publish the video, the chairman and CEO died. You see, 6 months ago, this 12-year-old German Shepherd was near death. He had terminal cancer, was operated on, and his prognosis wasn't looking good. The dog's caretaker knew that an age reversal trial was being conducted on dogs, and so she asked if Zeus could be a part of it due to his dire situation. The pill's aim is to lengthen telomere caps on human stem cells, because as part of the aging process, our telomeres shorten, which increases the chance of age-related diseases and, of course, death.
If you can increase telomeres, you can reproduce stem cells and keep repairing things so that you can get literally younger.
They said that in their drug's preclinical data from a previous in vitro human cell study, it showed that the medication lengthened telomeres by almost 200%. Zeus was granted access to the medication in April, and his caretaker said that she saw results almost immediately.
He's doing marvelously. He goes out to our pool and he swims and he has fun and he plays with the tennis ball.
A recent scan showed that the cancer in his body had completely disappeared, and the results were so remarkable that she asked for more to give another 12-year-old dog that could hardly walk due to arthritis. Just last week, she said that he had started galloping and running again. But then, despite all of that, he hit us with this.
And we are sad to report that since this interview was conducted, Dr. Christopher Chapman has recently passed away.
On the company's website, they announced his passing, saying, out of respect and privacy for Dr. Chapman's family, details of the 71-year-old's passing will not be made available. And then added that to support the new chairman and CEO, 3 telomere directors have voluntarily resigned. Human trials for this drug are planned for mid-2025.
The rarest things in the world.
What do you think happened?
Vaquita, only 10 left in the wild. Rarest gem on earth, painite worth $60,000 per carat. Rarest poker hand, the royal flush, 1 in 655,000 chance. Rarest element on earth, astatine, less than 1 gram on earth exists. Rarest car, Ferrari 250 Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo? Didn't they make a movie about that?
Okay, this is getting hard to believe, but there has just been reports of a second wave of explosions in Lebanon, but this time it's people's walkie-talkies. So yesterday, Hezbollah fighters' pagers, today, their radios. Initial reports are saying that the most recent wave of explosions have caused cars and houses to be set on fire, and there were even reports, this one's crazy, that one exploded at a funeral of someone who died from yesterday's explosions. And while I'm on the topic of explosions, you're going to see a lot of reports of people saying explosive devices found at Trump rally, even going as far as saying third assassination attempt, question mark. Let me just save you some time. That is a false report. There's going to be a lot of corrections. Don't worry about it. I'll keep you updated.
Imagine being kidnapped, locked in a basement, and then when the police come, they just leave you there to die. Back in the 1980s, many girls in Belgium were just randomly vanishing without a trace. This guy right here, Mark Detroit, was the guy who was doing all of this. Now in his early years, he had a lot of relationship issues and ended up marrying his second wife, Michelle Martin, this woman right here. What these two would do together genuinely will make you feel sick. Major trigger warning, if you're easily scared, please just keep on scrolling right now. This is your final warning. On June the 7th, 1985, they took their first victim, who was an 11-year-old girl walking home from school, which they kidnapped. They took her back to their place, armed her, and then took a photo of her after this before just releasing her. Now they did this tons of times before actually being caught by the police the first time, but then it got far worse. So they were both arrested but got a very, very short sentence and were out in no time. Mark was released in 1992 after serving literally 3 years in prison for all of this. Of course, the reason they were caught the first time was because the victims they let go free had reported them, so they built this literal dungeon in the basement of the house where they would keep people. He went on to kidnap at least 6 people in the space of a couple of years and left them all in here. At this time, the news was going crazy in the local area because tons of girls were going missing. No one knew where they were, but they were all in here. Now, even crazier again, Mark's own mother actually reported him to the police and they still didn't go round. And she even told the police that he literally had girls captive in the basement right now and the police did nothing. Not long after this, though, Mark was actually arrested for something completely separate, stealing a car, and he told his wife she would have to keep the girls in the basement alive by watering them and feeding them.
yet. Now, by far, the most angering part of this whole story is that the police finally went round and did a check on the house. He literally heard children screaming and begging for help, and they walked out. They did nothing. Because apparently it sounded like the screams were coming from outside, and just kids playing a prank or something. Like, what? There was even undeveloped camera film on the side here, which they just didn't develop, but if they did, they would have seen literally everything. Now, apparently, this woman was too scared to go into the basement and look after the girls, so tragically passed away. When he finally got out, he started again, and more girls started vanishing, until eventually someone came forward after spotting him in a van, basically while in the act. He then confessed, showed the police the whole basement and everything, and even showed them where some bodies of people were. He also reportedly had another accomplice that they had a disagreement, and he unalived him and buried him in the house as well. After the whole case came to a close, she got 30 years in jail, and he
ruin your life. Baby chicks, while very sweet, are often grinded up. In many large factories, if they're baby roosters, they're just tossed into a grinder. Pretty gross. Did you know that in the United States alone, every year, around 2,500 people die from using right-handed equipment that were originally left-handed? Sucks to be left-handed. George Bush Sr. was the only man to survive after his plane was shot down in World War II by Japanese soldiers. Out of the 9 men that were cannibalized and eaten on by Japanese soldiers, Bush was somehow the only one to survive. Hopefully you like boogers, because Inuit mothers actually suck the snot out of their baby's nose. Nasty. Did you know there's actually 200 corpses right now on Mount Everest? Due to the body's elevation, they're actually left up there and perfectly preserved to the extreme climate and temperatures. They're used as guide points for climbers and hikers. Comment and let me know which fact disturbed you the most.
Basically, it's a graveyard, man. That's
This
the
is
best way to
without a
put
doubt
it.
the creepiest mugshot I've ever seen. This is 33-year-old Solomon Galligan. He is an S offender that tried to kidnap a little boy from an elementary school in Colorado. This entire ordeal happened last Friday, and he went up to multiple children. Before police arrived, he tried to grab the young boy and flee, but that was unsuccessful, so he just fled to begin with. He was later caught by police and charged with 1 count of kidnapping. As a result, the elementary school and the surrounding areas are increasing security and police presence. But bro, this mugshot is definitely the creepiest shit I've ever seen. There's not a single feeling of remorse or regret in those eyes. He's now being held on a $25,000 bond. He had a similar incident in 2012, and he failed to register as an offender. Now, luckily, the little boy that he tried to kidnap was unharmed, and this also happened while the kids were at recess. I'm not sure how this happened. I feel like when I was growing up in recess, all of the teachers would be watching us.
Yeah.
But they definitely need to step up security. Let me know what you guys think about this case in the comment section below, and as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
Movie bloopers that are better than the actual movie. In The Dark Knight, while Joker sits in a jail cell, he overhears Detective Gordon get promoted to commissioner. Naturally, the rest of his squad applauds him, but then they hear the Joker clapping in the background. The Joker's creepy clap wasn't in the script, but it fit the scene so well they kept it in. In the show Friends, Matthew Perry actually hits his head on a filing cabinet.
Please, just.
Well, this was a total accident, and Jennifer Aniston's reaction was completely genuine. In this scene in Spider-Man Homecoming, Tony Stark leans over to open the door, but Peter Parker hugs him instead. This wasn't in the script, but Tom Holland thought it would be funny, which led to Robert Downey Jr. improvising this line on the spot.
That's not a hug, I'm just grabbing the door for you. We're not.
Classic.
In How the Grinch Stole Christmas, in this scene, everything was supposed to fall off when Jim Carrey pulled the tablecloth. But it didn't go as planned, so he had to improvise. This wasn't in the script, but it was so funny they kept it in.
Records that will never be broken again. Number 1, the woman with the most children. Back in the 1800s, a Russian woman named Vasiliev gave birth to 69 total children. She had 16 pairs of twins, 7 triplets, and 4 quadruplets. And no one has come close to matching that number since. Number 2, the most nuclear explosions ever survived. This is Tsutomu Namaguchi. He has survived 2 different nuclear explosions. Tsutomu was on a business trip when the first nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. After miraculously surviving that explosion, he returned to his hometown of Nagasaki just in time to witness the second atomic bombing. But again, he miraculously survived and lived till the age of 93.
That's rough.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably keep you up at night. One of your photos that you have today will be used in your funeral. There are more slaves today than any other time in history. According to the founder of the Walk Free Foundation, there are 46 million slaves in the world today.
Oh.
Your eyes can still move after your death for 15 to 30 seconds. Watching TV for more than 2 hours a day can shorten your life expectancy by 1.4 years. In 1977, we received a radio signal from space that lasted 42 seconds. To this day, no one knows where that signal came from. A lit candle causes more than 15,000 house fires every year. Spider rain could happen at any moment above you. Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise in the 2017 version of It, was born in 1990, the year the original It was released. Yeah.
Those are some creepy coincidences, man. Spider rain? I've never heard of something like that before, but I definitely don't want to experience that, man. Imagine you just walking outside, normal day, just see a whole bunch of freaking spiders coming down. You like, what in the world is this world coming to, man? How does something like that even happen?
If you see him while you're awake, run. So this story actually comes from a Reddit user who's a therapist. And this user had a patient who was coming in complaining of seeing Hatman at night. This patient would apparently wake up in the middle of the night to see Hatman standing at the foot of their bed, watching them sleep. And as a result, they were not really sleeping much. So the therapist prescribed some pretty heavy sleeping medication, and as a result, the patient starts getting a little better. But then one day, the patient comes in and just looks like they had seen a ghost. So the therapist asked them what was wrong, and they said that as they were getting in the car to come to therapy, they saw Hatman standing across the street during the day. This therapist had only ever heard of Hatman when it came to patients waking up in the middle of the night and seeing him, never when they were already awake doing things in the middle of the day. So the patient is terrified, but the therapist thinks this might be a side effect of the medication. It takes a little while to get used to. But that was the last time the patient ever came to see the therapist.
Man, is he real? Cap.
Scary facts that will blow your mind. Part 2. The Hoia Baciu Forest is considered the most haunted forest in all of Romania. Hundreds of people have gone missing within these woods, among other things like screams, laughter, babies crying, people being attacked by unseen paranormal forces, strange balls of light, UFOs, and in the very center of the forest lies a clearing where no plant life will grow. It is believed that this spot is a portal to another dimension. What do you think? Like and follow for more.
Okay, that one, the most haunted freaking forest of Romania, man, where all those plants not growing and how they said it can be ported there. I definitely want to check up on that one because that sounds interesting, man. Like, no plants are going in that whole open area. That space is just like a freaking, look like a crop circle. What do you guys think? Is that a dimension to another
incident has
reality?
made people on the internet so upset because this woman went up to a teen and pulled down her skirt because she thought it was too short. Even if you think this skirt is too short, I think we can all agree that you cannot go up to a child and touch them. The teen said that this woman approached her from behind and basically put her hand in her area. This woman, who's a 49-year-old Ida Lorenzo, said to the girl and her friends, "I happen to work for the state, and if I have to see your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS."
I happen to work for the state, and if I have to watch your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS.
Now, let's be real for a second. If this was a man who did this to a young girl, police would be called immediately and there would be no excuses. They were waiting at a restaurant to be seated and she basically felt like it was inappropriate for this young girl to be dressed like this in front of everyone. Which, if you feel that way, then you can leave. You should never be putting your hands on anyone. She was eventually charged with sexual battery, which I'm glad because you can't be putting your hands on anyone, especially kids.
She said it perfectly. No words needed on that clip. Everything to a T.
Here are 5 regular things that are illegal in North Korea. Number 1, wearing jeans. In North Korea, wearing jeans is a symbol of their enemy America.
Number 2, turning off the radio. All houses come with a government-installed radio that makes announcements through the day. Number 3, practicing religion. Reading a Bible can get you publicly executed. Number 4, watching foreign films. Watching foreign films can get you executed or sent to a labour camp. And number 5, listening to foreign music. All music has to be Kim Jong-un approved.
You were taught that you probably
Never
still
gone to
believe.
North Korea.
Number 1, that cracking your knuckles will cause arthritis. While cracking your knuckles might sound and look damaging, it does not cause arthritis. That loud pop that you hear when you crack your knuckles is caused by bubbles bursting in your synovial fluid, and the bubbles pop when you pull the bones apart. Blood in your veins is blue. If you look down at your arm, you can probably see your veins and see they look blue. However, your blood is not actually blue in your veins. Blood is either red or dark red, but never blue. Your veins look blue because of your skin. Blue light does not penetrate human tissue as deeply as red light does, and as a result, veins that are close to the surface of the skin will be more likely to reflect blue light back to your eyes. You can hear the sound of the ocean in shells. This is a myth. The sound you hear when you put a shell against your ear has nothing to do with it being from the ocean. It's actually part of the background noise around you, just turned up a little bit by the shell. So if you're next to the ocean, the shell picks up the sound of the ocean, the alpha wolf. There's actually no such thing as an alpha wolf. This idea was brought about in a paper from the 1970s, but the author later said in a paper that he rejected the idea of an alpha wolf. While it's true that multiple wolves who share a small space in captivity will develop alpha and beta-like hierarchies, wild wolves behave nothing like this. In the wild, a wolf pack is typically formed by monogamous parents and their puppies, and the wolf pack is basically a tightly knit family consisting of parents or breeders and their offspring, not an alpha and beta. How rare is your body? Let's find out. About 75% of people have a deviated septum, and this is a condition in which the bone and cartilage that divide the nose in half are crooked, making one nasal passage smaller than the other, and it's known to cause nosebleeds, problems breathing, or loud breathing when you're sleeping. Less than 1% of people have an extra finger crease, and it's also called camptodactyly, and it's just when you have an extra little ridge on your fingers, and it is most common on your pinky.
Ooh.
Less than 1% of people have an eyeball scar. This is also called a macular pucker, and it's just scar tissue that forms in your eye, and it's known to cause blurred or distorted vision, and it's caused when the vitreous, which is the gel-like part of your eye, starts to pull away from the retina. Less than 1% of people can hear colors or see sounds. For example, this could happen as soon as someone hears a sound, they automatically see the color red, or as soon as they read a word, a certain color pops into their mind. About 33% of people experience motion sickness, and this 33% are highly susceptible to motion sickness, while the rest just experience it in extreme conditions. And it's caused when your brain starts to get signals from your body that it's moving, but they're mismatched and don't match up.
Here's some Disney Channel stars that went to...
Do you have any of those? Or is any of the Seeker's bodies rare, man? Does they have that extra, we said, I guess cartilage on your pinky or eyeball scars? I didn't even know the eyeball could get a scar.
to jail, but each time the crime gets worse. Starting off, Mitchell Musso, who played Oliver Oken in Hannah Montana, was pulled over in 2011 for driving under the influence. He was only 20 at the time and was arrested and released on bail. Because of this, his character was written out of Parrot Kings and his show Prank Stars was canceled. Next up, Adam Hicks, who played Luther on Zeke and Luther and had a starring role in Lemonade Mouth, was arrested a couple times, but most recently for an armed robbery with his girlfriend. His sentencing was delayed multiple times due to mental health evaluations and was eventually given a 5-year sentence. But he's now currently on parole and making music on TikTok. Moving on, Lindsay Lohan was Disney's golden child in the early 2000s, starring in iconic movies such as The Parent Trap, Freaky Friday, and Mean Girls, before getting into trouble with the law. She's been arrested for driving under the influence, drug possession, violating her probation, a theft charge, and has even had a bench warrant out for her arrest. And finally, Phil Lewis, who played Mr. Mosby on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, was arrested and charged for vehicle manslaughter after killing a 21-year-old girl while drunk driving. When they tested his blood alcohol, it was 3 times the legal limit. He was originally given a 5-year sentence, 2 years of probation, and 350 hours of community service, but ended up only serving 1 year due to his work with prison-based theater groups that performed in jails, churches, and schools to highlight the consequences of drug abuse.
After breaking up in the 50s,
Childhood.
these two high school sweethearts are now newlyweds at 82 and 85. Eddie and Caroline dated for years in high school, and they spent so much time together that Caroline was known as Eddie Eddie's girl around their Nashville town. And when Eddie graduated a few years before Caroline, she had hoped for his class ring as a sign of commitment, but Eddie wasn't ready. And he was about to leave their hometown for the ROTC program at the University of Tennessee when he dropped her off at her house one evening in 1959 without giving her a class ring and with no mention of the future. Caroline knew that their relationship was over. She says that she recalls running into her house and crying for that entire night. And then the two went on to live completely separate lives, including Caroline winning Miss Nashville the same year that Eddie left. In 1961, they both married other people and shortly thereafter had children and raised families. Eddie spent 21 years as a pilot in the Air Force, and Caroline became an interior designer and an author. But in 2001, Caroline lost her husband, and in 2021, Eddie lost his wife. A year later, in 2022, Eddie felt compelled to reach out to Caroline, and he says he called 9 times before she answered, but when she did, the spark was still there. With 6 decades of catching up to do, they met back up in Nashville, and just 3 months later, Eddie asked her to marry him. He wanted to get her a traditional engagement ring, but she said that all she wanted was his high school class ring, just like all those years ago. Now, as newlyweds in their 80s, they say that they feel just like kids again. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
It's true love. Well, he works through. They found each other, man, after all that time. Can you even imagine that, living separate lives? You come back and marry your first love. That's a great story. We need something positive every day.
Mason TV was able to trick Spotify into sending him Harry Styles' 1 billion streams plaque, so he decided to put it to good use. He created a TikTok account with the username SecretSue94, later changed to Sue Manella, playing on Harry Styles' nickname Sue, known within his fandom. He created multiple vines Harry made in 2013, adding subtle clues like a drawn-on cross tattoo to make it seem more authentic, and even getting pink carpet for his stairs to match Harry's stairs. He developed a multiverse of fake TikTok accounts for Harry's friends to lend credibility to the main account. He went to great lengths, including dressing up as Harry, painting his nails, and having fake paparazzi photos taken to show Harry with a Spotify plaque and using TikTok on his phone, which helped him spread the belief in the account. Overnight, fans all over social media and even major media outlets were speculating about its authenticity. Millions of people talking about the account led it to going viral and amassing over 600,000 followers.
This man left his 2-year-old toddler in a hot car while he went to go play video games. Not only is this case super disturbing because of what he was doing while his 2-year-old daughter was strapped in this hot boiling car, but apparently he's done this so many times before. It all happened on July 9th when 37-year-old Christopher Schultz arrived home at 12:50 and his daughter was strapped into her car seat and she was sleeping, so he decided to leave her in there because he did not want to wake her up, and he had left the AC on as well. Christopher's wife Erica arrived home at 4 p.m. from work and she found their 2-year-old daughter still strapped in the car. At this point, this poor little girl was already gone, and when paramedics arrived, there was nothing they could really do. Now, while Christopher claims that the AC was on, it turns out that it actually turned off only 30 minutes after he left to go inside. This means that she was left in this 180-degree boiling car for about 2.5 hours. At first, Christopher lied and said that he had left her in there for about 30 to 45 minutes and had checked up on her multiple times, but after they investigated and saw home surveillance footage of a neighbor, they noticed that she was actually in there for about 3 hours.
How long was she sleeping in the car out there? I want to say it was no more than 30-45 minutes. And I don't think their air was off that entire time. I think there was a time in between. I checked on her last. It was still running. She was still sleeping. And then when she went back out, the car was off.
Like I said, he's done this so many times before, according to his other daughters. And his wife also sent him a text message saying, "I told you to stop leaving them in the car. How many times have I told you?" But what I also found so weird is that his wife also sided with him, and she got really upset when police arrested Christopher. I don't understand how she has any type of sympathy for this man who just took your baby's life because he was playing video games. He was warned multiple times about this, so there is no excuse. Christopher Peter was originally charged with second-degree M, but then it was changed to first-degree, and he pleaded not guilty. If he gets convicted, he does face life.
For some reason, I never thought about it. This is how long fire hydrants actually are under the surface. I don't even know if I needed to know. I also just found out that there is a lake in Denmark that is shaped like a map of the world that's been handcrafted by one man for the last 25 years. Michael Jackson was 25 years, 4 months, and 29 days old when his hair caught fire while filming a Pepsi commercial. He died exactly 25 years, 4 months, and 29 days later, making that the moment as the exact midpoint of his life. The world's only blue McDonald's exists just because yellow signs are banned in Sedona, Arizona. Since 1980, California has built 22 prisons, but only 1 university. Sweden is apparently so good at waste management that it imports waste from other countries just to keep its plants running. Over 80% of the world has never been on an airplane. There is a man who visited every country on Earth without ever getting on an airplane, and it took him 10 years to do it.
Facts that will make you think.
Whoa.
There are some castles that are worth less than New York apartments. The Earth is around this many years old. There's literally a chance that we live in a simulation. Around 10% of people still can't read or write.
What you're looking at is not cute at all. In fact, you should scroll if you're not trying to cry. That's a gibbon. If you haven't seen them, you for sure heard them. Gibbons are the closest to past tense primates in the world, thanks to a wombo combo of poaching, pets, and property development. That last part is crucial because this branch warrior travels through trees. Knocking them down is like taking out the interstate, and it can cut them off from the rest of their family. Arms long, but ain't nothing humorous. So a lot of these knuckle draggers end up getting habituated to humans and seeing people as family. That's what happened with Kalia. Kalia is a western Hulak gibbon in India who lost her entire family, and she adopted the people around her, especially Ningda, the man that saved her. That's not him, by the way. I couldn't find pictures of him. Gibbons are social animals and groom each other. Not the Minecraft way, but salon service each other. So Kalia would climb down from the trees and groom the people on the ground. Actually, she didn't stop at people, and they just accepted it. Mind you, this was a wild gibbon. This wasn't a trick. It was a choice, and spend enough time here and she'll check you too. Or at least she would. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, you should have scrolled. Too late now, you're invested. Apparently, some kid taunted Kalia with a slingshot, and revenge was a gibbon. And a gibbon. Kalia bit the boy, and in response, the boy's father pulled up with a shovel, and that was the end of Kalia the gibbon. Which broke the heart of Bhupeshwar Ningda, who basically looked after her in the 90s after she lost her mate and baby. Mind you, it's believed there's only hundreds of them left in the world. There's the context you didn't ask for. The more you know.
The two brothers who took their parents' lives 35 years ago may now have an opportunity to be released this year. In 1989, Eric and Lyle Menendez took their parents' lives, Jose and Kitty Menendez, inside their home in Beverly Hills. The brothers were convicted of first-degree murder and were given life sentences without the possibility of parole. But the thing that has a lot of people questioning whether this was fair or not is the amount of evidence they have against their father showing that he essayed them growing up. Their father, who was an executive in the entertainment industry, had a lot of power, and Eric and Lyle were terrified of him. They were essayed by their father from a very young age until they were teenagers, and they even told their mother, but nothing was ever done. After taking their parents' lives out of fear, new evidence was revealed that their father also drugged and Ard, a 13-year-old boy named Roy Rosello, who was part of a popular Puerto Rican singing group called Menudo at the time. What I find so surprising about this is the amount of support Eric and Lyle have received from family members on both sides who truly believe them and are calling for justice. But on the other hand, there seems to be a conflict of interest. An attorney named Kathy Cady was just appointed to be the new director of the Bureau of Victim Services, which makes no sense because she's also the lawyer for the only family member of the Menendez brothers who strongly believes that Eric and Lyle should stay in prison for the rest of their lives. Many people believe that the brothers were not given a fair chance during their trial and deserve to be resentenced, which could now potentially happen at a hearing on March 20th. If you guys want to support Eric and Lyle's resentencing, you can share this post with the hashtag Justice for Eric and Lyle or email the DA through the website's form and tell them you support resentencing.
Did I get denied? I think it got denied because it would have been trending if they were free. That case, man. Twists and turns.
Cum-filled cupcakes were served to children by this teacher in Louisiana. Meet Cynthia Perkins, and let me warn you, this story is incredibly disturbing. So back in 2019, investigators were tipped off about this woman, Cynthia, and her husband, Dennis. Apparently, some images had surfaced depicting the couple graping a child. And when investigators finally swept in October of 2019 and arrested the couple, what they found out was disturbing. Cynthia, who at the time of her arrest was a middle school English teacher, had allegedly gotten a sperm sample from her husband, baked that sperm into some cupcakes, and brought the cupcakes into her classroom, where she then served those baked goods to her own students. When the police raided the couple's home, they found hidden cameras in the bathrooms and in the attic, and they uncovered a lot of evidence that the couple had been producing child pornography, with a victim under the age of 13 years old. Cynthia at first was unrepentant and tried to pin this all on her husband, but shortly after they were arrested, she divorced her husband and admitted that she had, yes, taken part in this entire thing, and just last year she was sentenced to over 40 years of prison time. Now, her husband Dennis was actually a sheriff's deputy, and in a completely unrelated case, another woman was found guilty of helping Dennis grape, a woman who was completely unconscious, and yes, they filmed the attack. So these two were serial predators and offenders, and this story just goes to show that these people don't look evil. Predators come in all shapes and sizes, even teachers.
Jalissa, hi. Can you tell me what's happening there? Yes, I just killed my daughter. How old is your daughter? 3. Is there anyone else in the house? God. And how did you kill your daughter? I tried strangling her. That didn't work, so I stabbed her with a knife in the neck and chest. And what area of the house is she in? She's on the floor in the living room. Do you still have the knife? I do. Is it in your hand? No.
He made tacos out of her
Chile.
brain. Alvaro and Maria had been married for about a year and were living in Mexico. Although they didn't have children together, Maria was a mother to 5 children from a previous marriage. Alvaro wasn't the best husband, as he had an addiction to substances, and he was very violent towards Maria's children and would even spy on them when they were taking a shower. On June 29th of 2023, Alvaro was under the influence when he took Maria's life. He dismembered her body and placed it in a plastic bag. Some of Maria's body parts were left at the home while others were left at a ravine. Alvaro ate part of Maria's brain in tacos and used her shattered skull as an ashtray. 2 days after he did this, he told Maria's daughter what he had did to her mom and to come collect her body parts. Maria's body was chopped up by using a machete, hammer, and a chisel. Once law enforcement was notified, they found a black magic altar during the investigation. Alvaro confessed everything and claimed that the devil made him do it. On July 2nd, Alvaro was arrested and he is currently awaiting trial.
On Tuesday, the judge asked Diddy how he's doing and his position on taking the stand himself. This was the first time Diddy was heard speaking in court. His exchange with the judge has been voiced by an actor.
I'm doing great, Your Honor. I've been wanting to tell you thank you. You're doing an excellent job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The judge questioned Diddy on whether or not he has fully discussed with his attorneys the decision not to take the stand. Diddy replied emphatically that he has thoroughly spoken to his team about it. The judge wanted to confirm that Diddy understood that this decision was his and his alone, and to that Diddy responded, quote, "Yes, my decision, I'm making it."
Just to recap for a second on the original charges against Diddy, he was charged with 1 count of racketeering conspiracy, 2 charges of sex trafficking, and 2 charges of transportation to engage in prostitution, and he's obviously pleaded not guilty to all charges.
I heard like this week, didn't they say they dropped most of those major charges, right? People talking about he's about to be free.
Sports with the highest probability of death. Base jumping 1 in 2,300 people. Wingsuit flying 1 in 500 people. Cave diving 5 in 100 people. Extreme parkour 1 in 75 people. Free solo climbing 1 in 50 people.
I want to talk about one of the scariest ghost videos I've seen come out of a military base. So this is security footage from one of the gates at the Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan. This is coming from a podcast episode I just did on one of the most haunted military bases in the entire world, but that gate has a very dark past. For context, Kadena Air Base is located in a particularly haunted part of Okinawa, Japan. Over 100,000 people died on the island in World War II, and most of them were innocent civilians. Fast forward to today, but people who work at the gates at Kadena Air Base say that they see people from World War II trying to get onto the base all the time, and it's usually in the dead of night. There's all these stories of men in like bomber jackets and olive trousers showing up to the gate past midnight, and when the guard turns back around to let them into the base, they're completely gone. And most people thought these were just legends, but then this video surfaced. In this video, 2 guards are watching the security footage at the gate while this shadow behind this sign here starts moving around. At first they think it's just a shadow, but then it like moves off screen in a weird way, and then it hangs out at the top of the screen for a while and then completely flies away. And you think people would be fast to point out like, oh, this is just a bug or something on the camera, but when you look at the comments, everyone is talking about all these horrible, terrifying experiences that they also had at Kadena. If you want to hear some of those experiences, as well as other ghost stories from Kadena and Okinawa in general, definitely check out this episode of the Heart Starts Pounding podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.
It would make sense, man. How that place would have some bad energy there. Like she said, it was during World War II, and it was all civilians. And we're literally seeing it 4K proof with ourselves, man. And commas down below that green, too, so... I guess, man, I haven't been to Japan before, but we're gonna stay away from that area.
Craziest coincidences in history. On December 5th, 1664, a ship sank off the coast of Wales, UK. All 81 passengers on the ship lost their lives in the wreck, except for one survivor. His name was Hugh Williams. Then on December 5th, 1785, another ship sank in the same location. Everyone perished except for one man, once again named Hugh Williams. In 1820, yet another ship met the same fate in that very spot. Only one survivor emerged, and his name was, as you might have guessed, Hugh Williams. But the final part of this story will blow your mind. Another shipwreck occurred in that same area in 1889. Some sources reported that this final disaster took place on the 5th of December that year. However, the truth is that this shipwreck actually occurred on August 19, 1889. They likely reported December 5 to make this coincidence sound even scarier, but it is already terrifying enough as it is. That is because on August 19, 1889, a coal barge sank in that same location. But this time, there were 2 survivors. And if you are thinking one of them was named Hugh Williams, you are mistaken, because both of them were named Hugh Williams. Sophomore?
It's literally when I thought I've heard it all I'm telling y'all, it's that one time I thought I've heard it all, and it's that one time I'm like, what in the world, y'all? This girl right here, her name is Katie, and she was adopted, and she wanted to figure out who her biological family was, right? That's kind of a normal thing for a lot of people who are adopted. So she goes on good old Facebook and figures out that this man right here is her biological father. Now, she goes on to find out that he's married and he has 2 children, I believe. And she connects with them. Now, she even ends up moving in with them and sleeping on the floor in their house, and finds out that him and his wife have an estranged relationship. Now, they end up, her and her biological father, end up having a sexual relationship with one another and getting married. This is their wedding photo right here. But they didn't disclose to anybody that they were actual biological father and daughter. They even ended up having a child together. They had a little baby boy together, y'all. And eventually, she ends up wanting to end this situation, and she gives him the ring. He goes absolutely crazy and unalives this poor little baby, and then goes to her house where she's staying with her adoptive family, follows her where they're driving from too, and unalives her as well. This is really one of those cases, like I said, when I thought I heard it all, it's always that one case that really just floors me.
Morbid Facts, Part 568. In 1915, a strange illness called encephalitis lethargica broke out across the globe. Nicknamed the sleeping sickness, the disease attacked the patient's brains, leaving them frozen in a statue-like state, fully conscious but unable to move or speak. One of the most haunting aspects of this disease was its unpredictability. Some patients recovered quickly, never experiencing any long-term effects, while others went into a deep coma and never woke up. Then there were patients who seemed completely recovered, until years later when the illness came back and suddenly turned them catatonic. At least 500,000 people died from the terrifying disease before it vanished without explanation 10 years later, just as suddenly as it appeared. While many theories have been put forth over the last century, epidemiologists still remain haunted by the mysterious sickness and its unknown origins. Some say it never left, but still lingers in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike again.
Disturbing things found by YouTubers. In this 2021 YouTube video, this YouTuber and his friend are vlogging their camping experience in the countryside of Boxhole. Everything proceeds smoothly. They can be seen setting things up for the night, having dinner together, and finally, going to sleep each one on his truck. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, the YouTuber can be seen waking up terrified.
We hear that, right?
Things you won't believe are true. Sunflowers have been used to clean up radiation. One of the ingredients in dynamite is peanuts. Elephants can use their feet to hear via seismic waves. Octopuses have 9 brains and 3 hearts. And the human brain can't feel pain itself, it can only detect it.
Disturbing facts about the Wizard of Oz you'll regret knowing about. The snowstorm that took place in Poppy Field was actually asbestos. The Cowardly Lion costume was made of real lion skin and hair. The face mask that Ray Bolger wore for his Scarecrow costume was so heavy and tight that it nearly suffocated him. Judy Garland was on a strict diet of black coffee, chicken noodle soup, and cigarettes, and along with diet pills to reduce her appetite. Her mother introduced her to pep pills as a way to help her give an energetic performance.
Dang, man, that movie was cursed.
Have you ever wondered how rare your body is? If you have golden blood, you are one of 48 known humans on Earth. 1% of people carry a gene mutation that lets them sleep for 4 hours a night without feeling tired. I want to know when we can clone that, because that would be great to have, honestly. 0.1% of people are born with a tiny hole near their ear that has been said to possibly trace back to fish gills. 1 in 10,000 people have a second row of eyelashes that grows from their eyelid. 0.5% of people have an extra rib bone growing from their neck instead of their spine. 0.06% of humans have eyes with 2 completely different colors. Only 5% of the population in the world has amber colored eyes. 5% of people have extra taste buds that make bitterness and sweetness way more intense. Less than 1% of people have a gene mutation that makes their bones nearly unbreakable. Only 10% of people can voluntarily wiggle their ears. I definitely cannot do that. 35% of people never get at least one of their wisdom teeth, not even hidden under their gums.
Nobody knew who this man was, and nobody knows who he is till this day. All that we know is he erased his identity successfully. This man came in a taxi to a hotel in Northern Ireland from supposedly Austria. He had a fabricated identity. He went by the name of Peter Bergman, and his address was fake. It was somewhere in Austria. The hotel receptionist didn't really think anything of it. He had a thick German accent, and, he could pass for German. Now, he stayed at this hotel for 3 nights, and in those 3 nights, you can see him on the CCTV footage leaving 13 separate times. The weird thing about this, every time he left, he would take something out with him, like his bag or whatever, and he would come back with nothing left or nothing inside of it. Like, sometimes he would leave with a plastic bag filled with items, he would return, nothing in his hands. He had some weird behavior too. Apparently when they were trying to clean his room, they knocked, he wasn't there. Then they entered after a period of time, assuming he wasn't there. He didn't have the do not disturb on his door or anything. And when they broke into it, he looked very spooked, as if, they caught him in the middle of something he shouldn't be doing. The next day he called a taxi to take him to a beach. He asked for beach recommendations at the front desk. He went to the beach, stood there for a few minutes, got back in the taxi, and then went back to the hotel. A little strange, but okay. The next day and the third day, he checked out of the hotel. He had his 3 bags on him, a luggage, a crossbody bag, and then a purple plastic bag. Except the luggage, the suitcase, wasn't the original one he walked in with. It was a completely different one. So what happened to his original one? They didn't catch him leaving with it or anything. It was also never recovered, too. He left with 3 things, the luggage, the paper bag, and then the crossbody bag, whatever it was. And when he got to the bus stop, just a few minutes ahead, he only had 2 of those 3 items on him now. What happened to the third thing? His body was discovered the next day at 6:45 a.m. by a father and son practicing for a triathlon. His luggage and shoulder bag were never recovered. He had random belongings scattered on the shore. He apparently was washed up. However, that's not how he died. An autopsy report revealed a cardiac event. So he had a heart attack and then died. An autopsy was done. They found multiple cancers. He had prostate cancer, bone cancer, and ischemic heart disease. A 5-month investigation was launched to find out who this man was, and despite efforts, nobody ever concluded who exactly he was. What's even sadder, the medical examiner even said, with all these, cancers and the ischemic heart disease, this man was in constant pain all the time. It's likely he was just sick of it and, he was just taking a trip. He knew the end was near. He's now buried in an unmarked grave in Sligo, Ireland. It's not clear how he arrived in Northern Ireland, where his journey began, or where it really ended. Many people thought foul play was involved, but foul play was not involved. Others claim he knew the end was near and he wanted to make peace and just end it here. That's why he had these odd things, you know, going to the beach on the taxi, doing everything else. But nothing is concluded yet. That's just the assumption right now. Will we ever know the bottom of this case? Probably not. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
On the evening of
how did he just like disappear his whole identity like that? Even 5 months later, they couldn't track it down. I mean, track his true identity down. Let's do that.
Thursday, May 21st, 2015, a 16-year-old girl named Lily walked into the home gym inside of her house in Hong Kong looking to do a workout. As soon as she walked in, she saw her dad was in there, and he was doing some sort of cool-down exercise on a yoga ball. So Lily's dad, whose name was Ka Kim-sun, was a doctor, and normally at this time of the day, she would never see him in the gym. He was typically locked upstairs in his study, so for him to be here, it just didn't really line up with his schedule. And so Lily asked her dad, like, what are you doing here? What's going on? And her dad would tell her, well, actually, you know, work at the hospital was really slow today, so I took off. I'm just doing some cool down exercises because I got nothing else to do, but I'll be out of your hair in a second. The next day, May 22nd, around 1 o'clock, normally Lily would be at school, but she had had the day off that day, and she had wanted to spend her day off seeing friends, but her dad was really focused on her being successful academically, and he told her, you were going to stay home and you were going to study all day long. You will not leave the house. That's what you're doing. Lily's mom looked over at her and said, I'm not going to make you study all day. Come on, let's go out and have a mother-daughter shopping day. About 2 hours later, around 4:15 p.m., a local jogger noticed there was this yellow Mini Cooper car sitting on the side of the road, not moving, but it was still on. And so the jogger was curious, and so they ran past and made a point to look inside the car, and they saw 2 women in the front 2 seats of this car slumped over. The 2 women were Lily and her mother. Police were called. They dragged Lily and her mother out of the car. They were totally unresponsive. They were rushed to the hospital, but it was too late. They both died. The police would begin their investigation into their deaths by searching the yellow Mini Cooper car. And when they searched it, there really was nothing of note inside of it. For the next 6 months, the police tirelessly looked for some lead as to what happened to this mother and daughter. And so right as this case appeared like it was about to go cold, the detectives decided to just go back to the Mini Cooper and see if maybe, just maybe, they missed something. And sure enough, they had. It would turn out on May 22nd, 2015, the day that Lily and her mother died, Lily's father had told Lily to stay home and study, not because he cared about her academics. Instead, he wanted her to stay home all day to protect her. When police originally searched Lily's mom's car, they found the 2 women's purses and also some basic exercise equipment in the trunk, specifically a deflated yoga ball. It would turn out the yoga ball did have something to do with it. 2 days before the women were found dead, that yoga ball was inside of Lily's home. Ka Kim-sun had taken that yoga ball to the hospital where he worked and filled it with carbon monoxide, an odorless, colorless, poisonous gas. And his plan was to put the yoga ball in his wife's car, unplug it, and then when his wife got in the car and shut the door, she would effectively suffocate and die. He didn't try to kill his daughter though. Ka Kim-sun was arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder. He was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. He has never explained his motive.
Last week, a girl who was walking to school found a severed arm near a park, and over the course of a week, multiple other body parts have been found strewn across Babylon, New York. This case is honestly terrifying. So on February 29th, a girl found a severed left arm near a park in Babylon and called the police. When the Suffolk County Police Department arrived, they, along with cadaver dogs, then found a human leg in a pile of leaves nearby. After thoroughly searching the scene, they then found a right arm, a severed head, and many more body parts in the park. Authorities were able to confirm that the remains belong to a 53-year-old man and a 59-year-old woman, but their identities have not yet been released to the public. A week after this grisly discovery, more human remains were found in Bethpage State Park in Farmingdale, just a few miles away, and it was confirmed that the remains belong to the same victims. So far, human remains have been found in 3 different locations in Suffolk County, leaving behind a chilling mystery. Since the discovery, these 4 people have been arrested in connection to the crime. They are Stephen Brown, Jeffrey Mackey, Amanda Wallace, and Alexis Neves, and they all reportedly lived together at a home in Amityville. They have since been charged with hindering prosecution, tampering with physical evidence, and concealment of a human corpse. But here's the thing. They've all since been given supervised release, meaning they're all walking free in the public right now. Their release is based solely on the fact that at the moment they have not been charged with the killing of the 2 victims. So according to authorities, they're free to go until their next court appearance, or if new evidence is found where authorities are able to press additional charges. All 4 suspects are required to wear GPS monitoring bracelets and are ordered to stay in Suffolk County. The only thing is that they aren't allowed to return to their Amityville apartment due to inoperable plumbing, which was reportedly removed during the police investigation. It's insane to me that they've all been released because authorities searched their house and what they found is horrifying. Police found cutting tools, a meat cleaver, and traces of human remains, but according to police, that isn't enough evidence to prove who killed and dismembered the 2 victims and why. So far, a motive has not been released, but authorities are investigating the case as a possible love triangle. One of the suspects allegedly dismembered his girlfriend and a man that he believes she cheated with, but this has not been officially confirmed. It's just been reported by a source who claims to be familiar with the matter. As for the 2 victims, not a lot of information has been released about them, although police do believe that they may have lived together in Yonkers. But at this moment, their relationship to the suspects remains a mystery.
It's literally all in 4K.
Stop scrolling because this has to be one of the scariest skinwalker encounters ever. Reddit user NoPlan9840 said that when she was 16, she snuck out of her home at around 3 a.m. to go smoke in the woods in Lynn, Massachusetts. She said that it wasn't a huge section of woods, just a small reservation in the middle of the Boston suburbs. She got to the entrance of the trail, parked her car, and made her way to the campsites where there were fire pits available. As she stood there by the fire, she heard something on 4 legs come up behind her. She didn't sweat it much because she said that the worst thing it could be around there was a coyote. But then she heard it transition to 2 legs and walk with a bipedal gait. She said that everything went silent and all she could hear was the crackling of the campfire. She started to get concerned that something bad was about to happen. She thought that maybe it was a homeless man working up the courage to come up and ask her for money. So she called out, "Hello, is anyone there?" Silence still for about a minute. She said that everything inside of her was telling her to run, but then she thought to herself that if it's an animal trying to hunt her, then she should stand her ground and make herself appear not worth the risk. Then, whatever it was talked. She said that it sounded almost like a parrot mimicking its owner's voice, and it asked to bum a light. It said, "Can I bum a light?" She said that at first she was relieved because at least she knew that it wasn't an animal, but the way it spoke was truly uncanny. She said, "Sure, but you have to come out where I can see you. You're giving me the creeps, dude." And then it asked again and again, 3 times. Then she said that she was really freaked out and she knew something was really wrong. She told it to go away and find someone else to ask if he was going to be creepy about it. Then it ran off on all 4s. You could hear all 4 feet hitting the ground as it ran away. The crickets came back, the night birds started chirping again, and the air even felt warmer. She said that a feeling of dread came over her and she knew that she had to book it. She calmly packed all her stuff up, put out the fire, and started to walk back to her car. She wanted to run, but she thought that maybe if she played it cool, whatever it was would back off. She finally saw her car about 200 feet ahead of her and began to calm down. She felt secure enough to look behind her, and sure enough, about 40 feet behind her was a male deer standing on its hind legs in the middle of the trail. She said that at this point she lost all composure and freaked out. She ran as fast as she could to her car and pulled out of the parking lot before she could even turn her headlights on.
So he experienced a...
I believe that Skinwalker story, man. Been hearing clips about it. The way she described it, man, saying it was a deer, ran away on all 4s.
break-in, which must have obviously been terrifying, but he killed the intruder, and then instead of ringing the police, he decided to live with his mummified corpse for 15 years. It was 2017 in Sydney, Australia. Bruce Roberts lived alone in the area, and he was pretty well known for being a prolific hoarder. However, nobody had any idea of the disturbing possession he was keeping in his home. Neighbors, as I said, described Bruce as reclusive. He very much kept himself to himself. He was kind of one of those people that was very socially awkward. He would rather just stay in the house rather than socialize with people. And even if anybody wanted to be nosy about what was going on inside Bruce's home, they really wouldn't be able to. His home was so full of junk you couldn't even see inside of the window. windows. But neighbors did tend to keep a bit of an eye on Bruce and just make sure that he was, still alive. And when locals hadn't seen or heard from Bruce for a while, they asked police to do a welfare check. Police did do this. They showed up and entered the house, and tragically, they found what neighbors were fearing. Bruce was deceased inside his home from natural causes. But obviously, when they went in, there was a smell. The state of the home was absolutely shocking. They had no idea that the state of the home was actually concealing a second body. As I said, there was this death smell, but they pretty much put that down to Bruce being found dead there and just the general mess and uncleanness of this house. It wasn't until a staggering nearly 2 years later that they found body number 2. Cleaners had started the huge process of deep cleaning this property in order to sell it now that Bruce had passed away. They were prepping this home for sale when they found the body of 39-year-old Shane Snellman. Now, Shane was a local known criminal. He'd been released from jail in 2002, and shortly after this had seemingly broken into Bruce's home in an effort to rob him for substance money. But this break-in went completely wrong for Shane when Bruce ended up hearing him breaking into his house and shooting him. Then, instead of telling the police, he decided to just hide the dead body in a rug, and he kept it in his spare bedroom for 15 years. Needless to say, the smell was absolutely unbelievable. There was evidence of over 70 air freshener cans that he'd had to buy over the years to try and conceal the smell of rotting flesh.
Damn, 15 years, bro? He was that big of a hoarder, man. But the police didn't even know.
Barry Morphew has just been arrested and charged with the murder of his wife, Suzanne Morphew, 5 years after she disappeared. Here's all the background of Suzanne's case and what led up to his arrest, the second time he has been arrested in this case. On Mother's Day 2020, 49-year-old mother of 2, Suzanne Morphew, was reported missing. She disappeared from her home in the small town of Salida, Colorado, where she lived with her husband and 2 daughters. Her husband, Barry Morphew, was the last known person to see her alive. The day she was reported missing, he told police that she planned to go on a bike ride while he was out of town on a work trip. After she was reported missing, Suzanne's mountain bike and helmet were found in separate spots not far from her home. But investigators suspected that the bike had been purposefully thrown down into a ravine because there was no indications of a crash. After she went missing, Barry and her family were frantically searching for her, and Barry even posted a video on Facebook pleading for her safe return. And it seemed like he was extremely worried about his wife. Or at least that's how it seemed at first. In May 2021, a year after Suzanne disappeared and still no sign of where she was, Barry Morphew was charged with her murder. Despite the charges, he has always maintained his innocence. But reportedly, he said his wife insisted on leaving him and then later changed his statements as evidence developed. Morphew did not initially tell investigators that he went out of his way as he left for work on Mother's Day, driving toward the place where his wife's bicycle helmet was eventually found. Later, he said he went that way because he had seen an elk cross the road, and he is an avid hunter. But investigators also uncovered a screenshot of a text message from Suzanne on Barry's phone that said, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly." And this screenshot was from May 6th, just 4 days before Suzanne was reported missing. So he was facing charges and was about to go to trial, pleading not guilty, and right before he could, prosecutors dropped the case due to prosecutorial issues with evidence. Prosecutors repeatedly failed to follow rules for turning over evidence in Morphew's favor, including DNA from an unknown male that was found inside of Suzanne's SUV. A judge barred prosecutors from calling key witnesses because of this, so they had to drop the case. And at the time, prosecutors said that they wanted more time to find Suzanne's body. The judge agreed to drop the case against Barry Morphew, but allowed prosecutors the option of filing charges against him later. And the case went cold. After the charges against Morphew were dropped, he filed a $15 million lawsuit against county officials, accusing them of violating his constitutional rights. His lawyers also filed a complaint asking that the prosecutors be disciplined for allegedly intentionally withholding evidence. His daughters have stood by his side through this all, believing his innocence.
And like I said, Suzanne's case went cold. No one knew where she was.
Sentenced to 120 years in prison, but don't you dare feel bad for her. This woman's name is Brandy Worley. She had a husband and also is the mother of 2 kids. But another thing is, she was cheating on her husband, and her husband had finally had enough. He told her that he was going to divorce her, and she knew that if they got divorced, her husband would get full custody of their children because of her infidelity. This was something Brandy could not fathom. So she did the unthinkable. One night, after her husband was already sleeping in the basement, she snuck into her kids' rooms and cut their throats. In 2018, Brandy was sentenced to 120 years in prison.
Serial killer facts you probably didn't know, part 1. In the case of John Wayne Gacy, he crammed so many bodies underneath his house that they actually started to melt together. It took autopsy detectives almost 2 years to find out what bones belonged to what skeleton. Jeffrey Dahmer actually gave people sandwiches in his apartment building, which more than likely contained actual human flesh, but no one fully knows. The reason Jack the Ripper always unalived his victims by slicing their neck was because it was a way for him to never get blood on his clothes. Like and follow for more.
This is some dark facts, man. I never even knew.
At night, you really couldn't see all the details.
That's Robert.
But they cleaned them up really good when they examined him. But that's the original lion, too.
That's cap. You do have to ask for permission or we're going to haunt you. I don't know what they
The
got
world's
that
worst
from.
job, otherwise known as Sheehan or Sheen, however you pronounce it. Hi, my name is Ethan, and let's get right into this. Recently, I've heard a lot of rumors about how bad the Sheehan workers are treated each day, and honestly, nothing could have prepared me for what I learned. This all started in June of 2022 when a viral TikTok displayed articles of Sheehan clothing with handwritten messages stating, "Need your help." According to Brightly.eco, they state that the average Shein worker works 7 days a week in 18-hour shifts. They even found that some of the workers were seen washing their own hair while they were at work just to keep up with their personal hygiene. Not only do they work a lot, but they also make a base salary of $556 a month to make 500 articles of clothing each day. Let me know what you guys think.
It's basically legalized slavery, bro. You know overseas, man. I guess how they be treating these workers, but that just sounds something straight out of a horror story. The world needs more kindness, man. That's why we gotta appreciate the clothing, man, we got. Because of the hard work that these people be going through to make it.
Have you ever wondered how accurate police sketches are? I'm going to show you a couple police sketches and then we're going to see what the people looked like when they were actually caught. And I cover all sorts of true crime and spooky stuff on this page, so make sure you follow along. Starting with this one. So this was a man who SA'd a minor, and this was the description that she gave to the police. And as you can see, this is really close. He has the big glasses that go up over his eyebrows, broad nose, really round face. Even the hairline is pretty similar. This is a woman who stole a baby from a maternity ward. And she was actually caught 10 hours after the sketch was released because she looks almost identical to it. So the witness who gave the description to the police officer for this one was actually intoxicated when he saw her. But that person basically got it identically correct. You can see her wispy bangs, super round face, the way that her hair comes down over the sides of her face. Even her eyebrow shape is perfect. These sketches were all done by a woman named Lois Gibson, who holds the Guinness World Record for most successful police sketch artist. She helped solve over 1,000 crimes in her 30-year career.
Damn. She like a Picasso. Terrible crime story?
Of the willow tree and
Ate him alive? What the hell?
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 35. This creature is known as a woolly monkey, and due to poachers and people trading and selling them illegally, there's only 1,000 of these little guys left in the world. The uncanny valley is a phenomenon in which people become fearful at things that are very close to human, but something isn't quite right. Throughout history, mummies actually weren't that rare. That is, until the Victorian British ate so many of them. During the Arctic exploration, one of the scientists was complaining that his shoes were soaking wet. Later, when he took them off, he found this was because his feet were decaying and liquidized with his blood. A man once donated his recently deceased mother's body for scientific research. Later, he discovered that the research facility sold it to the US Army for $5,000, strapped it to a chair, and blew it up with explosives.
What was the purpose of that? Need a sue, bro.
Terrifying interviews with serial killers. Part 1. John Wayne Gacy.
And there are a lot of things I can't remember. The same thing with the victims. I've looked at all of, I don't know if you notice here, we got pictures of every one of the victims here. And believe it or not, for the last 12 years, I've studied these photos of these victims. We have a shot of all of the victims together here. And when you look over at the photos, I have no recollection of any of them. Never met them. And we've gone over this more than once. They're just names and faces. And when you look at them,
that's insane. He has no recollection.
The robber doll might be crazier
what's a robber doll?
than the Annabelle doll.
Robber doll.
You've never heard of it?
Is this like part of the Conjuring shit?
Just a cursed doll, and it's in a museum in Florida, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll tell you the whole backstory, right?
Okay.
So a kid named Eugene,
yeah,
he got a present, like a life-sized human doll made out of straw from his grandfather. Since it's life-sized, Gene took it like wherever he went. Like everything he did it with the doll.
Like a best friend.
Yeah, exactly. And nothing happened until like I think a year into the doll being in his presence.
Yeah.
That the grandpa and the grandmother started finding out some weird shit that was happening around the house.
Like what?
So in the middle of the night, right, Gene's door would be like creaked open. So whenever they passed it, they would hear Gene having a conversation with himself.
Oh,
right?
shit.
It's like a full-on conversation. And this is the craziest thing.
Yeah.
There were two different voices. So Gene and someone else. In the middle of the night, Gene, one night, Gene screamed like crazy, right? And the grandfather ran in the room. And all you'd see...
Hey, Robert the doll ain't no joke. We learned watching these... The John Wayne Gacy story.
If you see another person that looks identical to you, run away and hide.
So your twin, basically. Oh, doppelganger, what the hell? We throwing hands, man. Somebody look at me like that.
In terms of serial killer captures, Gacy had easily one of the best. By 1978, Gacy had been killing for a long time. He ran a successful contracting company, and the victims were his own workers. Obviously, he was doing kids' birthdays as the clown. People around town knew this guy. Like, he put on different events, weaseled his way into local politics areas with the first lady. He was part of all these different social clubs, just a pillar of the community. Which is always a suspicious title to me. I don't know. I feel like on the suspect hierarchy, obviously relatives, people with previous convictions, but also like keep an eye on the town community pillar. But eventually multiple parents had come into the police station with the same story. My son's missing, he'd just gone off with this guy Gacy at his contracting business. So that led police to search his property, where they found some creepy shit. Also some really sus stuff like driver's licenses and personal items. But even despite finding some stuff, they didn't find any bodies, so they couldn't charge him. But they were very suspicious of Gacy now, so they started running surveillance on him and tailing him everywhere. But anyway, one night, Gacy's in his house. He must have looked out the window or something and sees the police, and with all the bravado in the world, struts outside and says to the officers, "Hey, why don't you guys come on inside and join me for coffee?" And they do. And while the officers come inside for coffee, one of the officers needs to use the bathroom. And while he's in the bathroom, the heat starts coming on and pumping air up, and something also came up. To the officer, the unmistakable smell of death. To Gacy, that's just my house smell. You know, he's probably so accustomed to the smell of advanced decomposition that it didn't even register. That eventually leads to the second search, where they start digging up Gacy's crawl space, where they find over 24 victims whose remains had obviously over a long period of time melted together.
The fact that he invited the police in for coffee shows, he truly thought he was going to get away with it, man. He don't care. Those are the most dangerous people in the world, man. They don't fear danger at all.
Normal looking photos that have a disturbing backstory
Part 27. This photo shows an elderly couple doing the hokey pokey with a man named Dennis Rader, also known as the BTK Killer. He installed alarms for a living, and ironically, many clients booked his services to prevent him from entering their homes. This photo shows Luchadora Juana Barraza. She was sold to a man for 3 beers by her mother until her stepdad found her at age 17. Over the years that followed, she would strangle and rob over 45 old women that reminded her of her abusive mom. The man in the background is Christopher Wilde, aka the Beauty Queen Killer. This picture was taken on June 15th, 1984, and Chris is scouting future victims at a beauty pageant. This photo shows John Edward Robinson holding a baby girl named Tiffany. Just 1 day before this photo was taken, he murdered the baby's mother and gave Tiffany to his brother, saying that she was adopted. His brother, along with Tiffany, didn't find out the truth for 15 years.
That's dark. If you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a truth seeker. Thank you guys for seeking the truth from me today. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up in this video, comment down below, hit that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload my next video. You guys are going to catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.